Welcome back to the series, the final video in this series on the ICF core competencies, the 2025 updates to the core competencies. I'm very excited to have Sophia Casey with me today, and she is discussing that final number 8 core competency, facilitates client growth. So Sophia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I've really been looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Well, let's just start the conversation with a brief overview of this core competency before we go into what has changed.
Oh, absolutely. So facilitates client growth is really about partnering with the client to transform learning and insight into action. We also focus on the coach paying attention to promoting the client's autonomy, the client's ownership in the coaching process.
Okay, well, let's go into what has changed here in 2025. You were part of the group that helped to facilitate this change. So tell us about those just couple of changes that were made.
Yes, we didn't change a whole lot, so I'm sure the coaches will be happy to know that. But there are 2 significant changes under this core competency. We added a new sub-competency that really focuses on where the coach partners with the client to integrate learning and sustain progress throughout the engagement. What makes that a little different is before the core competencies were focused on in this coaching session and what happens in this coaching session. And now we're shining a light on more of the sustainability of the progress of the client. The second change is one that I really actually like, and that is we changed a word. So we had celebrates the client's progress and successes as a sub-competency, and we've changed the word celebrates to acknowledges because we wanted to make sure that we emphasized again sustainability, and also we wanted to make sure that the words were more globally inclusive.
Okay, great. So two simple but important changes. So let's look at what this looks like in everyday coaching. So we're looking back at the competency as a whole. What does this look like in everyday coaching?
So I would say, in everyday coaching, to put it in plain words, this competency is really focused on, like I said, insight, not just stopping at those aha moments, which we all love as coaches, those transformational moments, but actually going beyond that and going deeper and supporting the client to actually nurture those actions, if you will, focused on how the client is designing their actions, what are they committed to, and again, very importantly, how will they sustain their growth?
Mm-hmm. Great. So maybe you could tell us, you're a coach educator. So what does this look like when a coach is doing it really well? And then I'm going to come back and ask you about when they're struggling more around this core competency. So let's start with when it's been being done well.
Absolutely. So as a coach educator, as a coach mentor, what I'm listening for from the coach is, did the coach return back to the original agreement? Like, what did the client say they wanted to actually get out of this session? But I'm also listening for, did the coach support the client with actually going beyond just this session? Did the client actually connect the insights to action? Did the coach ask what success looks like for the client? And then also closing out the session. The coach is really focused on closing the session out, but closing it out with intention. So listening for, is there a connection? Were there patterns or beliefs or context that I needed to take into consideration to support this client with moving forward?
Okay, well, let's flip it now to what do you see as a mentor, coach, or an educator when someone's struggling? What are the typical mistakes?
Yes, typically I would see a coach really struggling around fixing something. So, like walking into the coaching session, if you will, and hearing that client's coaching request and feeling immediately that they have to jump right in there and start problem solving or giving advice. And what I love about this profession is that our work is easy because we don't have to give advice. We don't have to be the experts. We don't have to problem solve. And there's nothing to fix. When you think about it, there's absolutely nothing to fix. And I always encourage coaches, as an antidote to that problem solving or that advice giving, to actually just stay curious. Like keep that curiosity up front and alive. And remember to keep the responsibility on the client. They own it. They own the transformation that happens. They own their goals. They own the actions that they've committed to. They also own making sure that that growth is sustained going forward.
Okay. Well, thank you for those answers. Now, is there anything in this conversation that we have missed that you'd like to add about this core competency?
Well, I love to use metaphors, if you will, and I get asked all the time as a coach educator, a coach, mentor coach, and everything. I get asked all the time, like, what is the difference if we think about this core competency? What's the difference at the ACC, PCC, or MCC level? And I actually think about it as a tree. I'm always using metaphors, but as a tree, imagine you got this big tree with this wide trunk, and you slice the tree right in half. What would you see? You would see a tree ring that shows how many years it has taken that tree to grow that wide, right? At the ACC level, I relate to it as the core part, the core ring. So where the coach is really focused on what's visible and immediate, right? The coach is focused on the client's coaching request and the actions that they committed to. But then when we move out and we branch out to that second ring, that's more the PCC level. That's where the coach and client are diving deeper. The coach is now supporting the whole part of the client and not just that one specific coaching request. And then as we go out even more, another ring at the MCC level, now we're talking about that outer ring where now the coach is working with the client and paying attention to and getting curious about the client's worldview, their values, their beliefs, patterns of behavior, what they believe is possible or impossible, and really going beyond just the here and now.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that little extra at the different levels of coaching. So thank you so much, Sophia, for being here with us today. And also thank you to the viewers for watching, getting to the end of the series. If you haven't watched the entire series, if you're only watching video 8, there is a link up here where you can join the beginning of the series. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to all the coaches who participated in this process in 2025 to do these updates. And I will love to see you in another video, maybe about ethics, maybe about core competencies, but we will see you again.